Hi, I'm Virginie Likens from RolandDesigns.com, and today I'm going to show you a little peek inside a small treasure from my collection. This is a Cahier de couture, which means a sewing notebook, and it was done or belonged to a girl called Monique Millet. It's a very simple notebook, basically pages put together and sewn to make a small booklet, and inside of it Monique has kept small samples of different needlework and school exercises she's done to learn how to sew and how to make clothing. So we'll take a little look inside of it so you can see what a young girl would have learned. I don't know when, but probably about 100 years ago, maybe a little more. It was part of every girl's education to learn how to sew, how to knit, all things that would be useful later on in life for taking care of her family. And before we look inside the book, I want to show you this small French sampler, since we're talking about French needlework. This was done by Marcel Maillet. She was 9 years old, and the date says 1916, 1917. And it's worked a classic schoolgirl exercise in red alphabets on Penelope cloth. So this one here is charted and it's available on the website if you like a sampler reproduction. I invite you to take a look on the website. There's several of them to choose from, including many free downloads. So now let's go take a look inside the book. So now we're going to be looking at Le Cahier de Couture à Monique Millet. So I don't know much about Monique. I don't know her age when she made the book or anything, apart that Monique was French. And this is her sewing book probably from school. It's very simple. It's just pages kind of put together with a type of blue buvard, kind of like the paper we used to use in school to blot ink. Very, very tattered. And it's handmade, it's sewn together. So let's take a look. I don't know if it's all chronological, but it begins with cross stitch, some regular schoolgirl type of embroidery, practicing rows and your little X's and I guess counting. And every piece she has done is sewn with white thread onto this book. So this is the first page, and the next one also continues with cross stitch on rough Penelope canvas, exactly what you would expect from the beginning of last century, the end of the 1800 kind of canvas, the kind they would use in school, red color and the alphabet and a little practice initials. And then we begin now with the actual sewing. So everything seemed to have been worked on some very fine kind of cotton, fine cotton, and you see her going through different exercises and practices. This one here is just a regular little rectangle where she has done a little fold and practiced different types of seam stitches and a little tiny embroidery in the middle. It's very simple. It's probably an exercise from school, and maybe that was the one piece she was very proud of, so she put it in her remembrance book. Here we have a bit more of the same. As I said, I don't know if it's chronological because some pieces look a little more rough than other ones, so I don't know if she put them chronological order or not, or if it's just she put them how she pleased. Another little embroidery. It was originally drawn and then just kind of simply embroidered over. You can see different lines, folding it over, making little hedges, herringbone, and just regular stitches. And then now we begin with a little more advanced, a bit more delicate, hemming a little square and turning the corners nicely, triangle. I guess she was practicing things that she would have used for daily life later, for making your own clothing, hemming things, making handkerchiefs or bed linens. I think this one here is very sweet. It looks like a bib or the top of a shirt with a little apple in a daisy stitch. And there's more of the regular practice, attaching a little hook like you would for a mini dish towel. Doesn't this look like a little hand towel or dish towel? Her name was Monique, so I guess practicing doing your name on items. Often things were monogrammed. It was for fun. It was also because of the laundry. Sometimes you would send your laundry to be washed somewhere else, or other people would work together. So you would write your initials to make sure your item got back to you. And here we see a very basic kind of buttonhole practice. And we'll see more of that a little bit later on in the book. So here we see a little more practicing again, a lot of the same running stitches, foldings, and different types of ways you could hem things. And there's a little cherries, removing threads to see what that would look like. And this one here is a little pocket. It's very, very tiny. No secrets inside, but it's a little pocket. So I guess it was practicing by making miniatures of things you would do or use in daily life later on. This one is the only page that has knitting, and it's rough. It looks like it's been ripped, or I don't know. So I don't know if this was less emphasis in the time on knitting, or if it was just that she did not favor knitting so much, because most of the book is about sewing. So here we see again hedging, folding, hemming, and making buttonholes for this kind of patterns and shapes you would use in clothes making. So this is something that they would have practiced off a lot in school. Here we have another example of a buttonhole, and this one is a mini pocket. You can actually open it. I'm not going to do it. Don't want to ruin it. More practice, and she's getting a little bit better. As you can see, her stitches are getting more delicate. Everything is hand stitched. I don't see any machine stitches anywhere in the book. I thought this one here is really sweet. A little tiny sleeve with a little buttonhole and a little button, a little pocket, and some pulled work. As you can see, emphasis on what was practical. The average schoolgirl would have learned to do things that would have been used later on in real life for clothes making. Most people still made their clothes or altered them, or would actually just prefer to make them themselves as it was cheaper. And like nowadays, it was cheaper to make your own clothes, and you could make them exactly how you liked to fit your body. Here we have a tiny, tiny little apron. It's very, very sweet, very cute, a little bit damaged. And here we have an example of a tiny bit of darning. I don't know if the camera can catch it. It's very small darning practice. Darning was used a lot on bed linens or kitchen linens. Cloth was expensive, it was generally good quality. Once you got a hole in it, you darned it instead of trashing it. It was something that was quite common to practice. Was also you would darn the heels of your socks or elbows on your clothes. It didn't always look so nice to have a darned piece, but it meant that you were economic and you could save money that way. Here we have two different buttonholes. This one is actually quite nice. So I wonder this was not a sample from the teacher, and this is her tryout, because this one is a bit more rough, more like a student or somebody with a little less practice. This one here is absolutely beautiful, with a nice shape and going from small to slightly larger fan shape, and then a very tight corner, which would strengthen the buttonhole. Something you do not get with using machines. It still is better doing it by hand, as you have more control. And here is a sweet, sweet little slip with a little bit of lace. The petticoat or slip, something you would have worn under your dress. So this is also something that would have been sewn, and a good practice as something you could easily make at home later as your first item of clothing. This one here is a little handkerchief maybe, and it's got the smallest, thinnest lace, machine lace around it. So maybe this was a little piece she was particularly proud of. It's nicely hemmed and very nice decorative little lace pieces around. And a little tiny finger for a glove maybe, or pocket. And now we come to the end of the book. There's only one more, And this piece here was obviously done by somebody that had a bit of skill and experience. It's some very fine pulled work, also with a little decoration in between. The cloth here is extremely fine, so you would have had to be very skilled and very good, have very good eyesight to be able to see the fine thread. So considering this compared to some of the earlier work, this could have been done a bit later and she just added it to her book. And this is it. We don't have anything more from Monique. I would have really liked if she had written her age or a date on it, but that is a good reminder for your needlework that you always add your name and age, or even the place you've made it when you produce something that you're proud of.